new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day one, or day two, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
I mean, it's pretty uncanny the way she looks like her, but she also studied her, which is why she says school and not school. We tried to get Marie McCormick in the movie. We wrote so many scenes for her. So I knew that she loves country singing. So we had a whole scene where they were running through a country western bar and there was Marie McCormick singing. She still said no. So another Revolver story, I knew the owner of the Revolver by this point, and I come in one Sunday and he like drags me, says, "There's someone here that you have to meet." Pulls me out to the patio, and it's Marie McCormick and her daughter. Just on a Sunday at a gay bar, you know what you do with your daughter. And I was like, I wanted to kill her and also hug her at the same time. I was like, "I wanted you in the movie." And she says, "I would love to have been." I think people didn't know what we were doing originally with the movie. They thought maybe we were making fun of it. And it's such a Valentine to the film.
Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. It's Andrew. I am so excited to let you all know that we are now in the top 40 best liberal arts podcasts list that got sent to me, and we're number 3. So thank you all for listening to the podcast. And I just really appreciate that you keep spreading the word. So please make sure you follow us on social media. Instagram is Ivory Tower Boiler Room, TikTok, Dr. Rimby. And please review us on Apple, Spotify. It really, all of it helps. So I hope you just enjoy this episode. And as always, remember, there is an ad-free version on our Patreon. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room for a really special TV, film, campy, queer, all the things in the film, theater, TV world. I'm so excited to be joined with Stan Zimmerman, who has been nominated for 2 WGA awards for Best Comedy Episodic Writing. I just watched the Don't Ask, Don't Tell episode on Roseanne that I'm pretty sure the award was awarded to you for that specific show, right, Stan?
No, we lost. Thank you very much
lost.
for rubbing it in, making me feel bad. Is that how you welcome guests to the show?
I know. I'm sorry, Stan. Well, in my heart and everyone's heart, you won.
I won. And you know who my date was?
No, who was your date?
I brought Margaret Cho as my +1.
Oh,
I did.
She's a good +1.
She was a very good fun +1.
So if you don't know, you're definitely going to know what Stan worked on, from the Golden Girls to Roseanne to Gilmore Girls. He also co-created the Lifetime sitcom Rita Rocks, and he wrote on both Brady Bunch movies, even though he'll get into, I'm sure, why he's not credited on the first, but he is most definitely credited on a Very Brady sequel. He also
And we weren't credited. We did a big rewrite on the Annie TV movie that starred a few people like Audra McDonald and Alan Cumming and Kristen Chenoweth and Victor Garber, and just to name a few, just to drop.
Yeah, that was a great TV film.
It was a good version of it, yes.
Yeah. I want them to. I wish they would do more of those, but I'm not sure.
Doing them. They did them for a while, and they would do like one a year, and then they did a bunch of live ones. We worked on a couple. We were doing a Grease reunion movie.
Oh, wow. What was that going to be like?
It was called Grease, Still the Word. Very clever title. And there was a reunion, and this was when Olivia was still alive.
Oh.
And it was going to be kind of her story, and all of the characters come back, and they didn't know whether John Travolta would come back, and we had a little scene at the end of the movie where he came in a plane, because he loves planes, and they had one last dance. And also focused on their kids at Rydell High. And the Rizzo character, because remember, it took place in the 50s, and then this took place, I think, in the late 80s. And the Rizzo character was up for a big part on Dynasty.
Oh, wow.
The Joan Collins part, and she didn't get it at the last minute, and she was going to sing a song like "There's Worse Things I Could Do." So yeah, it would have
And
been really
Stockard Channing was gonna
hopefully,
reprise.
yeah, they all were going to come back for it, but the movie was unfortunately never made.
That's such a shame. That would have been, you know, such a good film. Wait, when was this gonna come out? In the 90s?
Yeah, no, this was maybe early 2000s we wrote it. For a while after Annie, we got offered a lot of TV movies. We were going to do a version of The Wiz before they did one live. We were actually casting it. Alan Cumming was going to be the Scarecrow. It was going to be a diverse cast,
Oh.
new script by us, and then using the music from The Wiz.
Hmm.
It was and guess who we were introducing as Dorothy? She was cast her very first part, Anika Nani Rose.
Oh,
Isn't
oh
that
my
crazy?
goodness. I
And
mean,
and
I wish
Audrey
she
Mc,
had sung her solo in Dreamgirls. I'm so upset that
yeah,
well, they gave her a different solo or duet,
not the
but
same. Audrey
yeah.
McDonald was going to be Aunt M. It
Wow.
was just it was a great cast. Lilias White was Eveline. Paul Abdul was the choreographer.
Oh,
We
that would have
were
been
They were
fabulous.
heavily into casting it, yeah. So
Yeah. Well,
they
how
seemed
many of
very
those
pleasant.
projects? It seems like you've had a lot of where there's like such of that excitement of getting to the stage of writing and then
Yes, you
is
have
it
to.
yeah.
It's an interesting when I teach acting, I talk about that show business. You have to have your show hat is as an actor or as a writer or in front of the camera. You have to put your heart out there, and
Mm,
then the business part, you have to change your hat to like a hard hat because the business is so hard, and you've got to pick yourself up. I mean, as you'll read in my book, which is called "The
yeah.
Girls from Golden to Gilmore." Um, Someone commented that like all the times I had to keep picking myself and keep going, like almost like the Energizer Bunny, and they would say, "How do you find it in yourself to keep going?" And you have to keep believing in yourself. Like currently, I'm in Virginia. This is not my apartment, but one they gave me. I'm directing a TV theme song musical that I started uh, over 16 years ago. And we did multiple readings, some with a few, I'll name drop again, Megan Hilty, before
Mhm.
she was Megan Hilty, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Mindy Sterling. Um, and so it's really learning persistence and believing in yourself. And if you have a strong belief, keep going because there's so many people that will say no, but you got to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah. Well, so like for your story, Stan, like I know you were born in Michigan, in Detroit,
Mhm.
and
10 Mile, not really inner city, but
okay.
yes, a suburb
Well,
of Detroit. Yes, let's say that.
and I know like you really wanted to be an actor, which
Hmm.
everyone again can read this journey in The Girls from Golden to Gilmore, written by Stan Zimmerman. That like did you see yourself entering into the writing side of the entertainment industry, or did that kind of like just happen?
Not in the very beginning because I wasn't a reader, so I always equated writing and reading together.
Hmm.
I Acting, I would get the scripts, but during my summer camp days when I was a mere 7, 8 years old, they would give us these very, very corny plays about princes and frogs and kings, and I was having none of it. I'm not reading those lines. So I would slightly infuse it with a few new words or actions or costumes, and they would always get laughs. And
Hmm.
the people that owned the camp didn't like it at first, but then it was so popular, people were very excited to see what I was going to do with the play, so they kind of let me do my thing. And that's when I knew I had to be a creator of some sort. And so then the next step for me was in my bedroom because I obviously wasn't out there playing sports. So I did what I had to do for survival, and I created my own TV network in my head.
Hmm.
And I would schedule 7 days a week of programs. So I was already starting to be creative in what it would be like to make up TV shows. And so it's so funny that, one of the first full circle moments was actually going to pitch TV shows and um, getting shows on the air or writing for existing series.
Yeah. Did the industry like when you first entered the Hollywood industry, did it surprise you? Did it kind of confirm what you thought it would be? Was it like more cutthroat than you thought, or was it more collaborative in your experience?
I was so obsessed with it and studying it, and I got a subscription to Variety
Mm.
sent to Michigan, which was then like a weekly newspaper. And I read that paper up and down and memorized every Broadway show and what theater it was at, um, and studied the ratings and the movie box office grosses. So I kind of knew what the cutthroat part of the business was. I found it very hard in the beginning, even though we got work within 1 year of being there, right out of
Wow.
college. And so I was really, really young. And my birthday's in October, so I was young, even, to have graduated at that age. Uh, Not having any relatives in the business, and it was all about contacts and meeting people. And then it was about going to free TV shows and writing script after script
Mm.
and learning that the scripts, we wrote spec sitcom scripts, that they didn't have to be as good as what's on there. They had to be a lot better or have something about them that would grab people's attention because there's so many people doing it. And we got lucky and we had a mentor helping us, but we just kept writing them and writing until one script was the one. And it got us a lot of attention. And within a year, I quit my job as assistant at a movie theater. And I was on the old MGM lot and had my own office and was on a TV show. And unfortunately, that show was canceled after 13 episodes, but it opened the door to everything else that happened. And once that door opened a crack, I was just like, get in there and stay in there. And, working weekends and figuring it out, and always going to movies and tapings and plays, and seeing what's out there, and using my imagination, which I had done since I was 7.
Yeah. Do you think the door opens? Is it easier from a certain standpoint of like being a writer, being an actor, like, or do you think all of the entertainment industry, it's hard for the door to open and for to have like that kind of mentorship that you
It's
find?
hard. It's also back then there were fewer opportunities in networks, and it was a closed society, really.
Mm.
There were fewer networks, there were fewer studios. Now you want to make content, you pick up your phone and make content. And I tell my writing and acting students that you have the power now. The only thing I could do was I can turn on well, there weren't even computers back then. And when I started, we were just typewriters, and then we plugged in typewriters, and then suddenly we had computers. But you could create as long as you could put it in a form that people could read. And then it's luck, it's talent, it's persistence, it's all those things. But you can't look at it, oh, it's hard, so I'm not going to do it.
Mhm.
And I learned that early on in acting school when I was 7 and 8. They said, you have to have the drive that there's nothing else you can do but this. If there's other things you can do, maybe go do them. But this was just in me. I knew I had to be in show business at a very, very early age, and nothing was going to stop me.
Yeah, well, you're already imagining and creating a whole
Yes, so
sitcom
it was,
series.
I didn't know about spirituality then, but I was kind of doing creative visualization. There I was in my bedroom thinking, I'm going to create half-hour comedies. And then that's what happened,
Yeah, you literally manifested.
I did before people even knew what the word manifest was.
Yeah, now everyone's getting their crystals to manifest. I
Oh, yeah.
mean,
Had I had a crystal back then, it could have gone faster
I know you could have created a whole industry around
if I only knew.
manifesting the Hollywood
Yeah.
industry opportunities. Well, I mean, let's start with Golden Girls, shall we?
Okay. We
Which
shall.
I'm just curious, like I'm sure each of your projects, it's been so different about like how involved you are with the, showrunners, with even knowing the actors or being there on the set. So what was the Golden Girls? What was that setup like of every week?
Well, we were there season one, and so it was at the very beginning. There was a lot of pressure. We were very young, and we were just baby staff writers.
Mm.
And in the beginning, I thought staff writers were just people that went and got coffee for the rest of the writing staff. It's like, no, you're sitting at the writer's table. They expect you to pitch things, and here you are sitting with people, and you look around the table, and they have all these credits and hit shows, and they've done it, and we didn't know anything really. So Golden Girls wasn't our first job; it was our second staff job. But you go in and you have to learn and be open about learning and connect with the other people on the staff and asking them questions and not being afraid to acknowledge when you don't know something. You don't have to act like I know everything. And when you're young.
As we get closer to Pride Month, the Gay and Lesbian Review has a brand new magazine celebrating all things Pride in a special issue called Homo Literarius. So it's all about playing on that idea of homo and the Latin root, which the Latin word homo means person. So not just homosexuality, but how LGBT figures have celebrated one another, have read each other, the lovers that they've had who've also helped inspire their creativity. It is a really interesting issue that includes articles about James Baldwin in Turkey, the gays who kill genre. Think about Thomas Ripley or Hitchcock's Rope, or Drew Drogy's Messy White Gays. Christopher Street, a fellow LGBT magazine, just turned 50. So there's an article about how Christopher Street came to be. So much is in this issue, and I can't wait for you all to get your hands on it. You can read the digital issue, or you can get the print magazine. Head to glreview.org, use the promo code ITBR Choice for a free issue of the magazine, and I know you all are going to absolutely love it as much as I do. Why does anything exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? I think that's a question we all, as curious people, have asked ourselves. And let me tell you, Professor Stephen A. Simon's new book is so thought-provoking that I can't wait for you all to pick it up. He provides his experience as a professor of political science and philosophy to explore that question with such a variety of perspectives from science, religion, philosophy, and even mathematics. He helps us understand what could possibly explain the most fundamental fact of all, that anything exists. So you can get this from broadviewpress.com. The floodgates have opened with science fiction as a genre in my life because I owe this to my husband and I'm going to give him credit. He has really gotten me to think more about sci-fi, film, and literature. I have to say, Minority Report, absolutely amazing. And Alien, I mean, who doesn't love that alien coming out of that human body in the first film? So, Professor Jason Haslam's new anthology provides a lot of exploration with all different short fiction, so many sci-fi authors, over 200 years, including sci-fi that explores indigenous futurism, feminist science fiction, Afrofuturism. Again, you can get this on broadviewpress.com. And last but not least, my upcoming episode with Professor Matthew James Vachinsky explores his book, which is Original Inquiry, A Guide to Research for Undergraduates, a great toolkit for all faculty out there who are just trying to find a book that helps their students understand how to collect research sources and then, right, the hardest part, build and organize their essay with all of these sources and to make a cohesive argument. I can't recommend Original Inquiry highly enough. So again, all three books can be found on broadviewpress.com. Use the promo code Ivory Tower for 20% off.
You kind of you think you do know everything, and so it's okay to say, you know what, I don't know this. Can you help me with this? Or even just dumb little things like, do you get an accountant who does your taxes? Like, I didn't know anything. I was literally like 22. Like, I knew nothing. I didn't have a car. We just started out just figuring it out. So there was a lot of pressure with Golden Girls. People knew with that caliber of actors that it had to be really good. So the producers who were not writers, Paul Witt and Tony Thomas, would sit in on the rewrites. So that was intimidating. And then the table reads when you would have B. Arthur. I mean, I grew up on Maude and Betty White married Tyler Moore, and here these ladies were reading lines I wrote. Like, what would happen if they didn't like it? Would they yell at us? We didn't know, but luckily they liked it, and they kept giving us more scripts to write.
Yeah.
We were able to hear their voices and write really good first drafts, so they kept giving us more. Um, on the side of it, we got to know Estelle. So Estelle
Mm.
is a real LGBTQ ally, even before I knew what ally was, but she took us under her wing. And, because she had worked with Harvey on Torch Song Trilogy,
Wow.
and we became friends on and off the set. And so that was fun. She was the only actress that on the set that we got friendly with.
Mm.
But I'm so grateful to have had that relationship. And I think of those times when she would, kind of be my second Jewish mother and
Yeah.
want to know, even after we weren't on the show, what I was doing and who was I dating and where was I eating? Was I eating enough? You know,
Mhm.
but how lucky to have those experiences with somebody. And I'm actually working on a one-woman show about her and writing. I think she had such an interesting story. Like to have that success at that age, I think could be very inspirational for people of all ages.
Yeah. Were you surprised, like during the table reads, was there a certain actress who was more vocal of like um expressing like, I don't know for my process if this is gonna work, or like was there one who would like take charge at the table?
It was, again, it was at the very beginning, so they were all on their best behavior.
Uh,
And I've never seen since then any show where the actors acknowledge it's all about the writing. If you watch any interview with them from any talk show, they always bring up the writers, and you
yeah.
don't normally see that. So a lot of people, I go online, and even with that show, with everything they said, I'll go into a Facebook Golden Girls room, and they'll talk about them ad-libbing lines around the kitchen table, and I'll just chime in, no, those are our lines. And they're like, how do you know? And the people go, I think that's him. Um, and to me, it's a testament to how good of actors they were, that it sounded improv, but it really was. Every word they said came from the writer's room. And I mean, really originated from the beautiful script that Susan Harris created. She
Mm.
created those four characters. And on that show, we learned really writing 101. If you write a joke for one character, you can't switch it to another character. You have to be specific. And
Mm.
they're not jokes for joke's sake, they're jokes that come out of the reality of the character. And we
Mm.
took that, into going when we went on Roseanne, and there were, large groups of, and we had 21 writers on that show. And a
Wow.
lot of us were stand-up comic friends of Tom and Roseanne who were not writers, like Norm Macdonald. And as funny and as brilliant as he is, he didn't know about writing. So for him and a lot of other stand-ups, they would want to pitch jokes, and we had to teach them it had to come out of the character of Jackie or Roseanne or Darlene, not just something funny for funny's sake. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, why those shows are still so timely, because they're character based. They're not just jokey jokes.
Yeah. I mean, Sandra Bernhard, like I've always loved her comedy, but like her, Laurie Metcalf, I mean, rewatching
What a
Roseanne.
cast. Well, I was friends with
Yeah.
Sandra outside of that, and we had actually sold the show to Showtime, a pilot for her own show. It
Mm.
was called Sandra Bernhard Trapped in a Movie of the Week. And back then, there were a lot of really bad movie of the weeks. So we had this character. She was so neurotic that each week she would fall into a different genre, like a
Oh,
biopic, a disease, all different ones,
I love that.
horror,
Yeah.
everything, schools. Um, I still adore her and talk to her, and she's, if anybody out there gets a chance to see her shows, and she's gonna be on White Lotus this year. So
Oh, that's right. That's right. I
yeah,
mean,
that's
I loved her in Pose too.
everything. Yeah, she's just,
Everything she does.
well, just, and to hang out with her, just, and she introduced me to her group of friends that I'm still friends with, and I was very lucky to have crossed paths with her. And we're both Michiganders, so I think we connected on that level too.
Yeah, you have a
We have a deep
Midwest
Midwest
root,
root. Yeah.
a Jewish Midwest root.
Well, there's both of those. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Just like Andy Cohen too, I think
Oh,
is
Andy. Yes.
from St. Louis.
He's
But
been very kind to me over the years.
yeah,
And
I saw,
I got to
right?
be a bartender.
Yeah, didn't you
When
go and watch What Happens
I
Live?
did when my book came out, he had me come be a bartender.
Oh,
And I guess I did have a drink at 11 o'clock in the morning or whenever we filmed it. Um, I needed something to just cut the edge a little bit. I didn't know what to expect, really. You know, I watched a bunch of them right before going on.
yeah.
And, but he was very kind. And we go back to his first days at Bravo, which he reminded me. His very, very first day was with a meeting with me on a Bravo project called Situation Comedy that Sean Hayes produced. And it
Mm,
was a reality show to find the next great sitcom. And I got the
wow.
gig and became the host showrunner of the series. And that's how I got to know Andy.
Yeah. Those early shows, I mean, I still watch the Tabitha Salon show. And
Oh,
I'm
I
like, when
love
is
that
Tabitha gonna
show.
come back?
She was great.
I know.
Uh,
I
and we
want her
were
to
on
do it again.
When Kathy Griffin started her
Oh,
show.
I
So
loved Kathy
so we
Griffin's
would
show.
do the press tour. Kathy was there, and it was the very, very beginning of the Real Housewives of Orange County, which I loved in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Celebrating 20 years now.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, so that was when it all started.
I mean, do you think that, like, to address the feuds and things, I mean, I feel like even with
Yeah,
Kathy
Golden
Griffin,
Girls?
well, I know there's the Golden Girls one, but like
Yeah.
even with Kathy Griffin, I was happy to see like her and Andy Cohen trying to mend or build the bridge, especially since they're so similarly activist minded. I
Mm.
think, do you think that these feuds are just um how realistic are they? Or are they more just to help fuel the pop culture
I
machine?
think the feuds are anywhere you go in the country and not just show business. I think
Yeah.
there's just miscommunication and people not talking your feelings. I think if you just say, this is how I feel, don't attack somebody, just say, this is how it makes me feel. Come from that place rather than assuming something. And that's when we get into all these things. Like, yes, you would think like just Andy and, you know, Anderson and Kathy get in a room and just and they'll see where they have common ground. And or I do believe if you don't and you can't and the other people aren't willing to work at it, going no contact sometimes is the only
Yeah.
way out of it. I know that's controversial. Also, when you're dealing with narcissistic people, which there may be a few in the show business world, um, again, if they're not willing to do the work, you can't change somebody, and that's in any relationship. Sometimes it's you have to walk away as sad as that is
Yeah. Well,
for your own
so
protection. Yes.
yeah, no, I mean, good advice. Were you surprised with the Golden Girls LGBT legacy, or was that something that had kind of always been part of the television audience? Was the queer community? No.
Oh, I mean, back then, and people find, especially young people, find it hard to believe we had to stay in the closet while we were on the show,
Mm,
even though it was a very progressive show. And Estelle was the only one that said, "Your secret's safe with me."
wow.
So imagine saying that at the workplace. Imagine going to work every day and you can't be open and honest about who you are. And that's something else people notice from my book. How can you be creative and funny and fresh and alive if you're bearing things when you're sitting around a room all day long with these people and everybody's sharing what they did over the weekend? And I
Mm,
can't say I was in West Hollywood or I did this or I went on a date. I can't say any of it. So that was a really difficult part of it. But I've had a lot of time to think about it recently, you know, looking back over the book, because in my book, I kept journals since college, during every show too. So I took pieces of the journals um, and thinking, when I was born, we had to hide who we were. You just, as soon as you felt any kind of sexuality, even as a kid, you were told it was wrong. So you had to learn how to self-correct in a way
Mm.
at a very early age. You know, when you would have relatives like, you know, what girl do you like? And you, or even in college, I'm too busy to date girls, you know, but before you come out. So I've had years of training how that works. And I had, you know, we all had it down to a science. So to do it at work was just, you know, so coming out was so liberating to be able to, and even though we had representatives, you know, agents and managers that said, don't do it, it's going to ruin your career, we felt we had to publicly do it in the press. And the movement needed that. You know, before we got to writing the lesbian kiss episode of Roseanne,
Yeah.
we had to come out ourselves. And then once in that dorm we wrote that episode, then we just started doing a lot of press, you know, CNN, and hoping that there would be young people that would see us and say, oh, I can be in this business, I can be who I am, whatever that is, celebrate that. And I talk about that when I teach acting. Like, I tell these, I just came from Indiana University, where I taught at the International Thespian Society.
Oh.
Celebrate your specificity. You know, when I cast as a writer, showrunner, I have to know who you are before I can put you in the show. So don't hide who you are.
Mm. Mm. And it's so interesting you talking about this, Stan, because like even like going to the Brady Bunch, the history of Robert Reed, I think, is so fascinating, of like just his sexuality and like hiding parts of himself and like being America's
Dad.
father. Yeah, the
Yes.
dad. And I mean, did you like what was your attachment to the Brady Bunch even before you knew you were working on the
I mean, I grew
campy
up
parody?
loving. I loved it. I loved it. I mean, it was part of my Friday night. That's what we did. We sat at home and we watched Partridge Family and Brady Bunch and all those shows, and up through Love American Style. So when the project came up to us, there had been 4 groups of writers on it,
Oh, wow.
and I was set to go to Greece on a long vacation during hiatus before starting a TV show. And I read the script, and I, I didn't quite get it. The humor wasn't brought out to me. It had to be campy, but not over the top. Again, it had to be really funny, but still rooted in some reality. Part of the script was already, I love the conceit of the Bradys were stuck in the past in a real world,
Mm.
but those two worlds colliding didn't seem like they were mind enough, or just the craziness of the show. And then when we got the gig, I came back from Greece, and it was just going to be a 2-week punch up. And we came in there, we met Betty Thomas, the director, and we just were like, it was like magic. And she just said, go nuts, whatever's in your head.
Mhm.
And we're like, okay. And we would just write these funny, crazy scenes. And she would go, oh, and she would literally fall on the floor laughing. And she goes, more. And she would just keep throwing scenes at us. And so we kept getting these 2-week contracts more and more all through the filming. She'd come to the set. The monkeys are going to be there, whatever it was. And we would watch episodes during lunch and then twist and, you know, shake them up and come up with crazy stuff. Or so we even wanted to do a gay reference to Robert Reed in there. So we did write a scene. I think it was, I don't know what it was. Someone was out on the street and they were in West Hollywood and they passed a bar and Robert Reed was coming out of a gay bar. It was very subtle, but we just wanted to sneak it in there. It didn't make the final, we didn't actually use it. But I mean, when you look at both of the movies, there's a lot of gay content in there. I mean, and Betty was great when they have the scene of the neighborhood. There's 2 guys that are
Yes,
obviously
yes.
a couple.
Yes.
Very, very subtle. And then the whole part about RuPaul, which a lot of people don't know, Miss Cummings. So we were making cast lists, and, you know, I started with Jennifer Lewis and Cheryl Lee Ralph, and people like, I thought, let's make it diverse. And then I was at the Revolver, which is a bar in West Hollywood, only one martini in, but all of a sudden this new music video came on and it was Supermodel. Just came out. No one had seen it. And I just thought, wait a minute, who is that person in drag? I went, what if we cast a drag queen as Miss Cummings? I was so excited, run to work the next day, and I said, all right, I know you all are gonna think I'm crazy, but I saw this video. He's so magnetic. I mean, he'd be great. He looks great on film. Can we just read him? And Betty was like, yeah, bring him in to read him. He read, got the part. We were working on a TV show, and I got off early because I said I had to be on set that day. And Jim didn't go with me, and I went, my writing partner, Jim Berg, and they were doing the scene in the office, the guidance counselor's office with Jan. And that was all our writing. So we couldn't change the sets, but we could change any words within, because they had already done all the location scouting. And so at the end of the scene, I whispered to Betty, tell Rue to say, and Jan, you better work. And she was like, what does that even mean? I said, trust me, one take, just do it. You'll thank me later. But the song hadn't blown up yet, just in case. And she goes over and whispers it to Rue, and Rue, of course, laughs. They did the take. She put it in the movie, and you hear the music in it at the end, all added because the song just exploded. So it was fun things like that and look what happened to RuPaul. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say.
Does he thank me? No, nothing. Do
Well,
I get to judge anything? No.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe
Hopefully.
if he sees this. Yes.
Yeah. Well, stop that train. I mean, I'm going to talk to Drew Drogi about it, but I did see it, and I do think that Rue is just magnetic every time they're on screen. It's just such a comedian. But I will say, I think definitely leans more into the camp than the Brady Bunch. I wanted to ask you that. So it was a very calculated decision. Yes, you'll have the sugar scenes.
Well, that was my idea.
Oh, was it? I love those
I
scenes.
Thought, we can't just take the scenes and do them verbatim.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, what is Carol? She's sugary sweet. And I said, I know this can be crazy, and it's just in the background, but what if she just keeps pouring through the whole scene? And my writing partner and Betty are laughing, and I go, okay, I guess it's funny. I didn't really, I guess I knew it was funny, but I didn't know that it would stand the test of time. And then she kept pouring. It was subtle, yet it was character based again, going back to that was her character. Why is she so, she's had too much sugar. But Betty said to us, write it for kids that have never seen the movie, write it for people that grew up on it, and then write it for stoners. It has to hit. And we're like, we got all three of those. We got that covered. Well, I've talked to so many kids that are adults now that the jokes went over their head. The parents got them. And you haven't really seen that in a movie where kids can enjoy it on a silly level because we wrote for those three specific groups.
Well, especially the Jean Smart,
her
God. Lusting after.
I don't think we could do that. A Brady
She
sandwich?
Loves Mr. Brady and his, right? Doesn't she say something about his packaged sausage or his meat? Yeah.
His meat. Oh my God, we could not do that. But I mean, it's Jean Smart, and I had seen her in a play early in her career before Designing Women, and so I mean, we had an amazing cast: Alana Eubank, and let's just say Christine Taylor and Jennifer Lee Cox. I mean, when we saw how genius those two were, Betty was like, "Keep writing more stuff for them," and so we just leaned into their rivalry, and that whole first model scene. That was the first day of shooting, and we went to set. We were so excited, our first movie that got made. So we went that day. And I mean, I think the world of them. I would like to do a streaming series with them and Olivia Hack, the Brady ladies. They're stuck in the 80s, and they moved to West Hollywood in 2026.
Oh, so that would be so good.
Maybe one day.
Please, yes.
Maybe,
I mean,
please,
well, and were you surprised that Christine Taylor like is still so the whole cast, but I think her with her podcast and like kind of just bringing back um on the McBride Rewind podcast, like really talking about what it meant to be Marcia and like eventually meet Maureen McCormick for lunch and the way that it's like stayed in her life.
Well, I mean, it's pretty uncanny the way she looks like her, but she
Yeah.
also studied her, which is why she says school and not school.
Mm.
Um, we tried to get Maureen McCormick in the movie. We wrote so many scenes for her, so I knew that she loves country singing. So we had a
Mhm.
whole scene where they were running through a country western bar, and there was Maureen McCormick singing. She still
Oh.
said no. So another Revolver story. I knew the owner of the Revolver by this point, and I come in one Sunday, and he like drags me, says, "There's someone here that you have to meet." Pulls me out to the patio, and it's Marie McCormick and her daughter,
Mm.
just on a Sunday at a gay bar. You know what you do with your daughter. And I was like, I wanted to kill her and also hug her at the same time. I was like, I wanted you in the movie. And she says, I would love to have been. I think people didn't know what we were doing originally with the movie. They thought maybe we were making fun of it. And it's such a Valentine to the film, to the
Mhm.
TV series. Um, so yeah, she's a really cool lady, and as is Christine Taylor, and is so talented. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm so glad she spent some time raising her family, and she actually at one point they lived down the street from me in LA before they moved to New York, her and Ben.
Yeah.
But we've just kind of gotten more re in touch. She just did one of my plays in New York. She did a reading of a very serious play, but called Right Before I Go, which is a suicide awareness play, and she did that last September.
Yeah, she's very talented. I mean, Dodgeball, Wedding Singer. I mean,
So
so
much. So
many amazing. Her
I'm
and
looking
Ben
forward.
Stiller are
Yeah,
dynamite.
and their daughter Ella. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what Christine does now that she's, really getting back in and getting out
Yeah.
there and doing work.
Well, and have her and Ben actually played against each other in a film?
Well, didn't they? That's how they met. What movie was
Oh,
it?
Dodgeball, Dodgeball.
Dodgeball. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
not
even
recently.
though he's like in a different yeah. Oh, that's right. He's like lusting after her, I think,
Yeah.
or has like a penis pump or something. He's like
Hey, watch your language.
I know. Yeah, he's like a very roided out guy in Dodgeball. But I think it would be interesting to have them be back in a comedy together.
They should. And I love that she's talking about it. And then I mentioned to you earlier that this whole Sure Jan thing,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was become a meme. Obviously, with the politics now, I'm writing in so many times Sure Jan with the lying and the alternate facts. And then recently, in the last 2 weeks, I noticed when I scroll on TikTok at 2 in the morning, which I know is not healthy, but I actually get calm watching it. And I started noticing that young girls mostly are lip syncing to that scene with the sugar and the Sure Jam. I mean, hundreds, hundreds, and now it's like thousands, and I can't keep up with the screenshots I'm doing with them.
I
And
love
I
it.
don't know why it reignited just suddenly. I can't get to the root of that. So if anybody knows, please let me know. But I'm so thrilled that young people are finding the film again.
Yeah.
Some of them are commenting thinking it's a TV show. And they're like, why is RuPaul in a TV show? And people are like, no, it's a satire of the TV show.
Yeah, well, I just remember in South Jersey where I grew up, the video store I went to, just always seeing the cover of the Brady Bunch movie and being like, wait, they're like
Wait,
stuck in the 90s. Like, but
ah,
it was so exciting the first time I watched it because I loved the Brady Bunch, but I loved the layers of building on the show. And like, I was so happy that, like, whoa, talk about an appearance, Florence Henderson at the
well,
end.
that only happened because we couldn't think of the end of the movie for the
Mm.
longest time. And we didn't write that till we were into shooting it. And Betty was just not happy with any ending. And then we just thought, well, who do we have to have arrive? I mean, it has to be her, you know? And then like, all that. I mean, it was just,
Ah,
and she was just great. And so it ended up being perfect at the time. We were just panicked because there was so much shenanigans going on. Like, how do you top that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and even right, the second film when Jan has like run away in
Oh,
her crazy wig, uh,
yes,
her Donna Summer-esque disco
yes,
hair.
yes.
You get Ann Davis,
Ambry
right?
Davis. So that was, again, that was an in joke. So there was always this rumor that she was a lesbian. So that's why we made her a trucker. Um, but don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
It's can't be allegedly, it can't be confirmed. So that's just an inside joke
yeah, yeah.
for
Was she
those who don't know.
excited though about that character? Because she seemed to be having a ball.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't none of the lesbian part. I mean, nobody said
Oh,
anything that to her. She was just a fun truck driver, and it was so different than the other character, and it was so integral to the plot of finding Jan and bringing her home. And so when we thought of that, it was like, she can't just find her in a regular car, put her in a truck.
yeah. But I love it because it is so like lesbian coded and knowing like her religious
Well,
background. Like,
there is that too. So we didn't know if she would accept it, but it was so light. You know what I
yes.
mean? Coding, it's more like sprinkles. Yes.
Yeah, but it seems like anyone who was part of the film, they enjoyed that kind of like crossing the line, but not like still kind of even Shelley Long. Like,
Oh, well, she was brilliant. And, at that point, and I remember the casting of it, we read a lot of people. Um, and Shelley Long had been a movie star after Cheers, but then she got this reputation, which women do when they, speak their mind of being trouble on a set. And Betty had to talk to her and say, just so you know, it's not a Shelley Long movie, it's the Brady Bunch. You have to, it's a group thing. And she was like, I'm in. And to her credit, she came to set even when she wasn't on camera. So when they're doing a shot of like Christine, and she would be there reading the lines. Like she didn't have to do that. She could have been home. And I think that really showed who she's, what she's made of, that she was a team player. And she's so brilliant in the movie. And for me, again, it was a full circle because we went to one of the first tapings of Cheers. We wrote one of the first Cheers spec scripts, and that's what started getting us work. So to be
wow.
able to have that, writing for her character, and then suddenly here she is reading our lines, it was almost like it was meant to be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and this film has also been uh the sequel, so many, gay boy awakenings, but even just the whole like incest kind of thing going on. How did that come to be to like play up the sibling
Well,
intrigue?
again, that was playing off of not only the show, but also the lore of it. So there had been some books, and Barry Williams had talked about going on a date with actually Florence Henderson, but I don't think she knew it was a date. He thought it was. And then
Uh-huh.
he had dated or been in love with Marcia, I mean, with
Mm.
Maureen. So we were playing off of all of that. So you coming into it, again, it's working on so many levels. The show, the what happened in real life, um, you know, even things like the dog disappearing, or even the
Oh
first
yeah.
one, there was no toilet. Like you couldn't have a toilet in a TV show back then. So we made fun of that. We could talk about all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's why it was really probably the most fun job we've ever had because it just used every part of your brain and nothing was too crazy.
Yeah, and that they have that you included the song numbers. Like I
Oh, I
think
love
to
that.
have the
That was
competition, the mall, like when what's the Roy when Roy is like being thrown into the vintage store. Like I think
or even the department store, and I
yeah.
like had this vision of how do we get the grid of the Brady Bunch? So it was
Mm,
like, well, they pass the TVs, they're selling TVs, and we have all the TVs, and so again, playing on all those levels of it.
yeah. Well, what was it like once the films came out?
Well, going back
Yeah.
to the first one, they gave Betty like $15 million, which is like a mini budget for a big studio like Paramount. And it wasn't until the first screening that the president of the studio, Sherry Lansing, was like, "Oh, that's the tone of the movie." You could explain it, but until you see it, you get that just slightly elevated, and people, like you said, all the actors got the fun of it. But for executives, they're like, huh, I don't understand the joke on the page. It's hard to read that. And it took somebody like Betty Thomas, who had done Second City and, just is a comic genius, to just go for it.
Yeah, and the sequel happened right away, right? The
Yes,
filming.
so that's why they brought us in right away to write the sequel, and we wrote a version of it. And Betty didn't want to direct it, and they got Arlene Sanford, who we adored, and then we get our first pilot ordered, and we're like, "What do we do?" And they're like, "Well, you got to stay on the movies." Well, but we never had. We were dreaming of a TV show, and we were actually in the office at Paramount, and Morton Nathan and Barry Finero from Golden Girls walked by the window and we just started talking through the window and we said, oh, we got a pilot picked up. Hey, do you want to be our showrunners? So again, a full circle of Golden Girls. So Brady, we said, we have to go do the pilot. We can't just let that opportunity go by. So they brought in some other writers to do another draft while we were doing that. And then we said we'd come back after our pilot was made. And so that's how that worked out.
Yeah. Did you ever have a chance to talk to Sherwood Schwartz about the Brady Bunch?
Yes. So he did come on the set, but not a lot. So Betty really, we didn't want to spook the actors, like be too much of like, or keep it the Brady Bunch too precious. Like
Hmm.
again, we were pushing as far as we could go with them. Um, so he wasn't there a lot, but did come by, and so it was cool to meet him and get to know his family.
Yeah, was he excited? Well, I'm sure he was excited that this was happening.
Yes, but I don't know if he really got like what it was going to become. Again, people
Mm.
didn't really know the tone because it's hard to put on paper. You could Betty explained it to us, and we obviously we saw and heard it the same, but until it's up there and with even the music, or even coming up with the idea for the beginning of the movie, what's their story? Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
That was us. That was I said we have to. We kept saying we got to start the movie off with like something big, and right away you get, oh, this is not going to be your normal film.
Yeah. And I love that the tone, like shifting. It does another film like that, I think from the 90s, like Hocus Pocus, I think also um got that adult humor, but having it
Right.
go over the kids' heads.
Right. Right.
I
But then
love
when we
those
did the
films.
sequel, I remember standing in the office and talking with Arlene, and she goes, "Yes, but they want us to set it during the summer, so we're probably
Mm.
not going to be able to use RuPaul." And I went, "Wait a minute." I go, "No, we're not doing this up without RuPaul." And just out of my mouth, I said, well, why can't they be at the city pool?
Yes,
And
yes.
I literally pitched them Moesha standing there. They all laugh and we go, all right, RuPaul's in. And
Yeah.
that's just because I was not going to let that opportunity go by.
Yeah, well, and the pool scene is so good because that's also where Jan tries to have them page George Glass and
Yes,
Marcia
yes,
can't hear. It's
yes,
just, well, and again, you have the sibling like interest seeing each other's bodies. Yeah,
yes.
that whole scene works so well. Well, you know, to get into just the question I had for you, which everyone needs to, again, read your book to get all the inside scoop with your work on these shows and the Brady Bunch films. But my only question with Gilmore Girls is I know that Amy Sherman Palladino, I know the pace of her writing is very, very important. Of like, even the actors always talk about, I think Rachel Brosnahan talked about it with Mrs. Maisel, that like she had to really learn like very quick the staccato pacing to
Mhm.
get the jokes right. What was your experience
Well,
like?
and we met Amy on Roseanne and got very close with her. And I've heard that she loved those 40s Rosalind Russell movies where they all talk fast. So I
Mm,
think that's where that was coming from. She liked that, but all that bing bang boom, like everybody talked and joked like that. So that's what it was coming from. It wasn't because she wrote long scripts and you gotta say it faster so we can say the whole script. It was the tone of what she heard that she hadn't heard that in a TV series. Also, had her background was in Roseanne and half-hour comedies. So she wanted to put a little bit of that tone in an hour show, which you hadn't seen before. So it was different in her scripts in the hours, and we learned this going on staff for season 5, that like in a sitcom, it would start with the joke and end with the joke. So everything had this nice little arc in each scene, like a little bow, and then the next one. Whereas in a more normal dramas, they would just cut and go to the next scene. And this would always be like bling, and then go to the next one.
Mm.
So it was very unusual when you're watching. It sounds different, you know, and also that relationship you'd not seen that, and then to have a relationship with parents that are so complex. When I saw the pilot she made, and she was very excited to show it to us, the idea that her parents would only give money if they came to a Friday night dinner was brilliant, because then you were forced to have that scene every week or whenever you wanted to use it.
Mm.
That's gold as a writer on a continuing series.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now with your current project, I mean, you know,
Which
I'm
one?
well, you have many, yes.
Yeah.
But with your musical
Yes.
project, it does really seem like, it's a love letter to how much you are such a fan and like your career, but also like the importance of TV in
Yeah.
your
What it
life.
meant to me that I
Yeah.
could go into that, which was then with a little box, and um, just my imagination would explode
Yeah.
with the world and the possibilities, and watching Norman Lear shows and seeing how he connected social issues with comedy, and which
Mm.
I have really been leaning into lately, of wanting to marry art and advocacy together in the work that I'm doing with directing my Anne Frank play, or doing my suicide awareness play, or just writing comedies, or my play Silver Foxes, which is a gay men's Golden Girls, still deals with really important issues, but in a more comical way.
Yeah. So,
So I learned all that watching TV. So all those hours that my parents would be like, "Stop watching so much TV," I really learned how to. I grew up, and I learned how to write and use my imagination.
yeah. So, the TV theme song musical, how does each like how does it happen that the theme songs enter the picture?
You got to come see it.
Okay.
But I use over 40 theme songs from I Love Lucy,
Wow.
Friends, Cheers, Good Times, Jeffersons. So they're recording a TV theme song for an actor. And so they're in a recording studio. And we just do it really in a smart, funny, different way each time we bring them in. So it's fun to watch from the audience perspective, because it kind of surprises you when you know, have a line, "and family matters," dun, 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 and then they sing "Family Matters," or the lead character that Cheryl Lee Ralph played. She was a session singer for TV theme songs, which were a big deal back in the day. And then
Mm.
they, you know, like Seinfeld just has the little, you know, musical interlude. So she wasn't getting work in Hollywood, so she moved to Cincinnati and was a DJ at WKRP in Cincinnati. So that's how we get those kind of shows in.
Mm. Well, I
I think
really
it could
hope.
be very popular. I'm hoping
Yeah.
it can move to, you know, play all over the country.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that it plays in New York City so I can
Let's hope
see
so.
it.
Yes.
And so many people can see it, and there's so many good venues in New York for like
Oh,
off
that's
Broadway.
my dream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully, maybe the Laurie Beekman Theater.
Oh, that would be a perfect spot for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Stan, I'm so excited that you came on. I'm so, thankful for your work. I think, right now in our current moment, uh, these films, these comedic shows, films, they matter because they give the community a voice. They give so many people an outlet to laugh when the times don't seem exactly humorous. So,
And that's important, I think, when you're laughing, your body relaxes, and you're more receptive to ideas and connecting with other people, and having those memories. And especially something like Golden Girls, a lot of people shared it with their grandparents, and hopefully we'll have more of that.
yes, yes. And everyone can find, you know, Stan's work. It's zimmermanstan.com.
Yep,
You know,
every,
all of
everywhere.
the
And let me know
projects.
all the
Yes.
projects. You can follow me and let me know what those shows mean to you. I love, actors meet, they're people that watch their stuff all the time on the street, but writers you don't really get to know. But I love hearing your experiences with the projects that I've worked on.
Yeah, and without the writers, there would be no
There you go.
projects.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why we need writers, and that's why we need original writing. So no to AI with writing. Well, Stan's on TikTok, Instagram, Stan Zimmerman. Thank you so much, and best of luck with everything going on with your musical and your play and everything you're
Everything.
balancing.
I'll be in Edinburgh with Right Before I Go, my play with Wendy Malick, and from Hot in Cleveland, and also Emily Kuroda from Gilmore
Oh,
Girls. Yeah.
oh, exciting!
Cool.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Stan. I hope
Bye.
you have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.